So, ladies and gentlemen, I know all of y'all have been wondering why I haven't posted. Well, I'm kind of in the middle of a project. As you can see, I'm going to turn this into bookshelves to cover this wall. And I haven't been able to find the studs yet because I would like to tie it to the wall, but it looks like it's probably going to just be freestanding. And, you know, of course, I got the legs out here, laying out in the hallway here. But, yes, I'm going to turn this into a shelving here. And this is 8 foot long. And I'm probably going to go about 6 foot high, which will put it on this wall right about here. You know, right around in here, which is right as high pretty much as I can reach. And I don't need it any higher than that. And it'll make it so that if I have to take it apart, I can take it apart and move it out into the hallway and move it somewhere in the house. And, oh yeah, I gotta unplug that nightlight. But, yeah, so I ran out of screws. So, for those of you who haven't a clue, what I'm doing is, I don't know if you can see, but I've got, this is 2x4 pressure treated. And this is a 1/2 inch pressure treated. No, this is just regular pine plywood. And what I've done is I've screwed the 2x4s underneath the plywood. Now, what I did find out, come down here so you can see. What I did find out is the 2x4s are not quite 8 foot. They're actually a little bit longer than 8 foot. Or the plywood is not quite 8 foot. I haven't figured that out yet because I did this last night and then went to bed because I ran out of screws. But what I did was I put a nail in to hold the 2x4 in place so it was smooth here, right? So to hold it in place while I got it screwed down. And I ran out of screws. So I've got to go and get screws today. I thought I had a bunch, but I've got the long screws. And I need the shorter screws for here on the shelving units, whereas I need the longer screws to screw the legs in to these 2x4s. So this is the first shelf, and it's going to sit on the ground. And then I'm going to have 3 more shelves come up, and it's going to be up, you know, if you can see on the door here, it's going to come up to about right here. So it's still going to have room to go on the door. So, you know, I can get it in and out of the door if I needed to move it. But, you know, like if I wanted to take out the carpet and put hardwood or whatever in here. You know, so this is a working project for this weekend. And then once I get it all built and everything, I've got plastic out in the shed to cover everything so I can paint it. And I actually thought about painting it before I built it, but I decided against that because I just decided against that. I figured I wanted to do this in stages. So I'll get the bottom shelf done and the legs put on. And, you know, I've got to trim the legs down, of course, with my little handsaw. I've got to trim the legs down to 6 foot. And then, obviously, I'm going to have to take all these other 2x4s and make sure they are 8 foot. And I've got to trim these so I can trim that little piece off. Because, well, I did not know that it wasn't quite, you know, I did not know that it was a little bit over 8 foot. So, this is why we stopped last night, because now I've got to unscrew this and take these 2x4s out and measure them down to exactly 8 foot, which I thought that's what I bought them for. And make sure that, yeah, and then cut the other 2x4s down, the 4 of them down to 6 foot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the legs and I'm going to attach them on the side here, and they're going to go straight up. So they're going to be kind of like this. See? On the outside. And then in my shed, I have a quarter inch. This is one of the joists I'm gonna put across like this underneath, so that it fills in this gap right here between those two 2x4s. And I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put one here one on either end, and then probably 2 or 3 more. Might be three more midway like that, you know. So kind of like a floor joist, just to stabilize it, you know, just because some of the stuff I'm going to be putting on here is going to end up being a little bit of weight on this, and so I wanted to make sure it was solid. So this is what I'm doing. And unfortunately, I've got to take all this apart now, because it's not quite, it's a little bit more than 8 foot. So we don't want it all sticking out like that. So we're going to have to go trim it. And I don't want to do that in the house, because then you get sawdust everywhere. So that's my project for today. And then I've got paint out in the shed to paint it once it's done. And as you can see, this plywood was not the greatest plywood. I mean, as you can see, it's got these little knots and divots in it, you know. But the price of wood is so high now. Believe it or not, this little bit of wood that I've got is these 4 shelves. So I had 2 sheets of pine plywood and 11 2x4s. And some of these 2x4s are just horrible, okay? Because, I mean, yes, they're pressure treated. But look at this. This has got these huge knots in it. I mean, if I was to go and pick out 2x4s, these would not be the ones I would pick. I would go through until I found better ones, because 1 or 2 of these is yeah, the only thing it's good for is to cut it down. It's not good for lengthwise. I mean, it would not survive, okay? And that little bit of wood there cost me close to $200. Believe it or not. So, I mean, this was my food bill for the next 2 weeks right here. And then I find out, oh, I've got every other screw that there is, but I don't have the 2-inch screws that I need. You know, because I've got these screws, right, but they're too big. Because, see, if you put them here, see, they'd go all the way down through there, and they would weaken the wood too much. So I need the smaller screws that are kind of like these, except they got the Phillips head screw to them, that'll only go down like that. See? Now, I could use these, but I don't like to have a lip there, see? So I want it smooth. So that's why I want to get the little Phillips head screws. And I may end up having to cut this end off of these 2 here in the house, just because, you know, I don't know if I want to take it apart now that I've got a couple screws in it, because that might weaken it, and I don't want to do that. So I might end up having to cut it here in the house. But I mean, I'm not going to cut them all in the house, obviously. But this is why I stopped last night, because of that. And yeah, it's just my project for the weekend. And what have you rolled in? What have you gone and rolled in? 'Cause you looking really dirty this morning. Huh? What did you do? What did you find? Did you go out in the flower bed? Have you been in the flower bed? 'Cause you sure looking a little bit dark this morning. Huh? You don't know? Oh, you want me to throw the toy? Yeah? Well, okay. Okay, here's your toy. That's what you want. Here you go. Go get it. All right, guys. Have a good one. Peace.